Okay, class. We have been talking about fairy tales and the different versions of Cinderella. Who can raise their hand and tell me one of the Cinderella versions that we read? All right, Jocelyn, what was one?
The country version of Cinderella.
Do you remember the name of it?
I think it was,
Help her out, Wainwright.
Cindy
Cindy Ellen. That was one. What was another version we read? Caleb?
The Golden Sandal.
The Golden Sandal. Do you remember what it was about or who it was about?
It was about this girl who found this red fish, and the red fish solved all her problems.
Good. Do you remember what part of the world she was from?
Like in the like some countries like Iraq or Iran.
Okay, in the Middle East, right? Okay, and there was one more we read. Does anyone remember? All right, Fahim.
It's the regular Cinderella, but the real Cinderella went to the princess party, and that she has to fairy godmother to help her get there because they were mean old stepsisters.
Good. So we read the original Cinderella. Okay. Today we're going to read this story called A Korean Cinderella. Okay, and then we're going to do some comparing and contrasting based on the ones that we've already read. Okay. So, The Korean Cinderella by Shirley Climo, illustrated by Ruth Heller. Long ago in Korea, when magical creatures were as common as cabbages, there lived an old gentleman and his wife. For years, they longed for a child to share their tile-roofed cottage. At last, a daughter was born. Good fortune, the man exclaimed. I'll plant a pear tree in the courtyard to celebrate this day. And Pear Blossom will be our daughter's name, the old woman added. Both the tree and the child grew lovelier with each passing season. In spring, white flowers frosted the tree, and Pear Blossom wore a white ribbon on her long black braid. In summer, when the tree bent with ripening fruit, Pear Blossom's mother wove a band of rosy gold in her hair. In the autumn, when leaves from the tree blew about the courtyard like scraps of sunshine, her mother dressed Pear Blossom in a yellow gown. But one winter, when the branches on the pear tree were still bare sticks, the old woman died. Adieu, wailed the old man. Who will tend Pear Blossom now? Yes, Fahim.
Well, does I don't mean like egad?
What does that mean?
Like, oh no?
That's a good, what language is that you just asked me? What you speak at home?
No, I mean like, what does that
I know, that was in Korean. And then you asked me, what was it kind of like, what you said? What did you say?
Well, I don't say anything like that.
Okay. He put on his tall horsehair hat and went to the village matchmaker. She knew of a widow with a daughter. The girl named Peony was just the age of Pear Blossom. 3 in 1, promised the matchmaker. A wife for you and a mother for a sister for Blossom. So the old gentleman took the widow for his wife. Although Pear Blossom called the woman Omani, or mother, she was far from motherly. And Peony was worse than no sister at all. Omani found fault as soon as she stepped into the kitchen. Too cold, she grumbled. The fire's gone out. Fetch wood, Pear Blossom. Be quick. Pear Blossom gathered sticks fed from the stove until the lid on the kettle danced from steam. Too hot, her stepmother scolded them. The noodles are scorching. Get water, Pear Blossom. Be quick. Both Omani and Peony were jealous of Pear Blossom, and the harder she worked, the happier they were. Each day, Pear Blossom was up before height, the sun. She cooked and cleaned until midnight with only the crickets for company. picture of her cooking and cleaning.
It's a cricket.
Yeah, those are bugs. Each year was worse than the one before, for her father grew too feeble to pay attention to Pear Blossom's troubles. Omani dressed Pear Blossom in rags and tied her shiny braid with a twist of rope. And now she and Peony addressed her as Little Pig or Pigling. Pigling has a ponytail, jeered Peony, but nothing can hide Pear Blossom's beauty. At night, Omani lay sleepless, searching for an excuse to get rid of her stepdaughter. One morning, she told Pear Blossom, "The water jar by the door needs filling. It leaks, Omani." Pear Blossom replied, "For it has a hole the size of an onion." Stubborn little pigs get tied up and taken to market," warned her stepmother. "Fill that jar." Then Omani and Peony marched through the courtyard gate, locking it behind them. Pear Blossom leaned against the tall jar. "Will none of this world help me?" she asked. "Jug, jug, jugful," rumbled a hoarse voice. A Takgabi, Pear Blossom gasped. I wonder what that means. "A goblin! What if a Takgabi goblin were hiding in the jar?" Fearfully, she stood on tiptoe and peered inside. A gigantic frog with bulging eyes stared back. "Jugful," it croaked again, and squeezed itself like a stopper into the hole in a jar. Wonder what the frog is gonna mean. "As you wish," agreed Pear Blossom. For frog or goblin, it was the best to do its bidding. She hurried to the well and drew a jug full of water. When she poured it into the jar, not a drop leaked out. When Omani and Peony returned, they found Pear Blossom resting beside the jar. "So," Omani shrilled, "off to the market, little pig." "But Omani, the jar is full," Pear Blossom protested. "A frog helped me." "Trickery," snapped her stepmother. But she muttered to Peony, "A magic frog! Look inside that jar." Peony hung over the rim but saw only her own scowling face. All of a sudden, the jar tipped. A flood of water soaked Peony from head to toes. "Pigling's to blame," she howled. "Someday Little Pig will get what she deserves," Omani declared. She made Pear Blossom crawl through the puddles, licking up the water. The next morning, Omani scattered a huge stack of rice around the courtyard. "Hold this rice, little pig," she ordered. "Polish every grain or else." She shook the empty bag. "You'll be put in this sack and sent to China." Then Omani and Peony left for the village. Rice covered the ground like sand because of the sea. Pear Blossom threw her arms around the pear tree and asked, "Will none in this world help me?" Wings rolled overhead, and a flock of sparrows flew out of the tree. "Cheer, cheer, cheer!" the sparrows called to Pear Blossom. They pecked at the rice, separating husk from kernel. In a matter of minutes, the sparrows had polished the rice and piled it into a corner. When Omani came back, she found Pear Blossom nodding beneath the tree. "Off to China," her stepmother began, and then she caught a sight of the mound of rice. "How can this be?" she demanded. Pear Blossom rubbed her eyes. "Sparrows flew out of the tree and polished the rice." "Birds don't pull rice," scoffed Omani. "They eat it." But to Peony she whispered, "It's magic that's flying about. Catch some." She pushed Peony beneath the pear tree. At once the cloud of sparrows swooped down. "Cheat, cheat, cheat!" they chattered at Peony. They pecked at her, tearing her jacket. They perched on her head, pulling her hair. "Piglings to blame," Peony bawled. "Someday Little Pig will get what she deserves," Omani threatened. She did not give Pear Blossom anything to eat. Not that day or the next. Not so much as a kernel of rice.
That's what she gets.
Pear Blossom had food to fix nevertheless. The village was having a festival, and she had to pack picnic hampers of dried fish and pickled cabbage for her stepmother. She also sewed a dress of pink silk for her stepsister. When festival day came, Peony mocked Pear Blossom, calling her "dirty piglet, stay at home." Piglings may go, said Omani in a voice that was sweet as sparkling sugar. After the weeds and the rice paddies, she handed Pear Blossom a basket of wilted turnip tops. Here is the piglings' picnic. I am most grateful, honorable mother, said Pear Blossom. When she reached the fields, Pear Blossom dropped the basket in dismay. Rice rippled before her like a great green lake. Weeding it would take weeks. Who could do such a task? She asked. Suddenly, a whirlwind twisted through the fields, and a huge fat ox reared up from the cloud of dust. Doo! It bellowed, tossing its great horns. The ox began to munch the weeds, moving through the rows of rice faster than the wind itself. Each mouthful brought it closer to the Pear Blossom. Even though she hid her face in her hands, she heard the crunch of its teeth and felt the beast's warm breath on her neck. At last, she dared to peek between her fingers. Both ox and weeds were gone. Hoof prints, big as cartwheels, pocked the field, yet not a single blade of rice was trampled. And when Pear Blossom looked in her basket, she found fruit and honey candy instead of turnips. She bowed and then cupped her hands and called, 1,000 thanks! Pear Blossom hastened to the village festival. The road, which followed a crooked stream, was rough with pebbles. Pear Blossom had just slipped off the straw sandal to shake out a stone when she heard a shout. Hi, Mr. Wayne. Make way for the magistrate! 4 bearers, a palanquin swaying on poles across the shoulders, jogged towards her. In the chair sat a young nobleman dressed in rich robes and wearing a jade jewel in his top knot. Flustered, Pear Blossom teetered on one leg like a crane, holding her straw sandal. Her cheeks grew hot as the red peppers, and she hopped behind a willow tree that grew beside the stream. As she did, her sandal splashed into the water and bobbed like a small boat, just out of reach. Yes, Caleb?
See, I heard that on the page it said flustered. What is that supposed to mean?
What do you think it means using your context clues? Can anyone help him out? What do you think flustered means? All right, Kate, Kelby. Okay, confused. What do you think, Fahim?
I would feel like it went off like it flew away.
Not quite. What do you think, Kaden?
I think it means lost for words.
Okay, maybe stress, lost for words. Good. Stop! Commanded the magistrate from his palanquin. He was calling to his bearers, but Pear Blossom thought he was shouting at her, and frightened she fled down to the road. The magistrate gazed at after Pear Blossom, struck by her beauty. Then he ordered his men to fish her sandal from the stream and carry him back to the village. At the festival, Pear Blossom forgot about her missing shoe. She watched the acrobats and the tightrope walkers until she was dizzy. She listened to the flutes and drums until her ears rang. She nibbled on treats until her basket was almost empty. She was peeling the last orange when Omani and Peony came upon her. "Little pig!" screamed her little stepmother. "What are you doing here?" "I am here because a great black ox ate all the weeds in the rice paddies," said Pear Blossom. "The same ox that gave me this orange." "Black ox indeed," Omani snorted. "Oxen are brown. You stole that fruit." She was interrupted by the magistrate's bearers. "Hear this!" they shouted as they elbowed the palanquin through the crowd. "We seek the girl with one shoe." "It's Pigling," Peony pointed at her sister. "She lost her shoe." The bearers put the chair down beside Pear Blossom, and the nobleman held up the straw sandal. "The magistrate has come to arrest you for stealing." Omani shook her Pear Blossom. "Now you'll get what you deserve." Yes, Fahim?
Do they still have those Chinese gongs in Korea?
Sure do. "Then she must deserve me as her husband," said the magistrate, "for this lucky shoe has led me to her." Another of Pigling's magic traits, hissed Amani, pulling Peony to the palanquin. My daughter will give you 2 shoes. That is twice as lucky. The magistrate looked at Amani as if she had lost her wits. Then she turned to Pear Blossom and said, I've luck enough if she who wears this one becomes my bride. Pear Blossom smiled, too shy to speak, and slipped the sandal onto her foot. Omani stood staring, stiff as a clay statue, but Peony ran straight to the rice fields to find the magic ox. All she saw was a glimpse of its hooves as it galloped away. When springtime came, the magistrate sent a go-between to Pear Blossom's old father to arrange a grand marriage. Pear Blossom's wedding slippers were of silk, and in the courtyard of her splendid new house, a dozen pear trees bloomed. Ewa, ewa, chirped the sparrows in the branches. Ewa, croaked the giant frog down below. That as if it was long ago, and as it should be, for in Korea, ewa means pear blossom. And that's the end. Okay, so really quick, put your hand for a second. Let's talk about what was the same from the Korean Cinderella compared to the original Cinderella. Tell me one thing that was the same about the 2 stories. Emily.
They both had a stepmother.
Okay, they both included a stepmother. What else, Salem?
They both, one of their shoes.
Both lost a shoe. Were their shoes the same?
No.
No. Okay. What else was the same, Caitlin?
The mother died the first month.
Okay.